Well, hi, everyone. I'm Coach Lee with Action Coach Business Coaching, and this is the Business Spotlight where I interview amazing, fabulous entrepreneurs. And today I get to interview Kathleen Yoeman, and I want to tell you how to spell that. It's Yeoman. And Kathleen is co-owner of the Women's Fair, which you're going to be telling us about today. So welcome, Kathleen.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here with you.
Well, I think that the Women's Fair, luckily I have a little bit of insight because I've been a native of Wichita and I've always attended the Women's Fair. And I have a little bit of insight that I think people are going to be interested to know about. That I read that it is the largest shopping event in the state of Kansas.
Yes.
I love
Yeah.
that. That's cool.
Yes. Yes.
Pretty good thing to be able to promote.
Well, it is. And who doesn't want to go spend a day with endless shopping of everything that you can think about,
Yeah.
So we love, love, love. And that's one of the things that we brought up is that, we want to make sure that everybody's having fun at this, event.
It is a fun event. You can get a massage while you're there. You can get eyelashes, you can get hair, great food, you can get learning, you get great speakers. It's, yeah, right?
A little bit of
A
everything.
little bit of everything. That's great. So, well, let's talk a little bit about how long have you been involved in the Women's Fair, and so tell us about the business as a whole, like no one knows about it, let's just say, and then how long have you been doing it?
So I'm going to start off by saying, as you mentioned, I'm co-owner. So you'll
Yes.
hear a lot of me mentioning we. My business partner is Sari Schrepfermanm. So with that, I feel like I have to bring her into this because she and I have both been working in this business, in this field for over 20 years. We've been with this particular show pretty much since the beginning, of the show.
Okay.
That's why it's just such a part of us. But our business is, it's an event production company. And the event that we produce is called the Women's Fair. And what we basically do is we have our show in Century 2 Convention Center, Expo Hall. And we bring in outside vendors. Some people call them pop-ups, things like that, but it's just endless rows of 300 plus vendors there. And then with that, we bring in attendees so you can, spend the day shopping. And as you mentioned, it's anything from, specialty boutiques, health, beauty, wellness, kids, education. We do cooking shows, other demos. So that's it's a 3-day event annually in April. And it takes pretty close to a year. I mean, an easy 9 months to plan. So we took it over in 2019. Sarah and I became business partners. And our first show was February of 2020, about 3 weeks right before COVID. So yeah, and we were very lucky, and it was a great kickoff show.
Wow. Okay. So that could have been a devastating thing if you let it, but
it could have been very devastating, but
yeah. How did you overcome that in 2021?
It was interesting. Sarah and I are both very driven. We don't take no or we can't that easily.
Yep.
So, and we also knew this was new. We could not afford to go dark for a year. Sari is a very strong marketing, advertising, branding thinker. I mean, she's just an expert at it. And we had such a kickoff year, we couldn't really let the excitement and the momentum go dark for that. Yeah. So what we did is we just, we worked with the city, we followed their guidelines. The next year, as you mentioned, in 2021, in February, there were mask mandates and capacity restrictions.
Yeah.
We had to write up, a kind of a COVID health plan, what we would do to kind of help at our show. But with that, we pushed the show back about 8 weeks into April. crossing our fingers. And I will say this, I'm going to be kind of, just authentic with this. It was a scary time because we had to be excited about selling this to our exhibitors, our vendors, that we are having a show, while crossing our fingers that we were going to have a
that
show.
people would show up, right?
And that people would show up. And, my thing is risk assessment. I was just going to go through it. And if worst case scenario, we had to pull it and cancel the night before the show, that's what we were going to do. But we were going to build up as if we were having a show. And so we went that way. We pushed it back, and the city lifted capacity restrictions at the beginning of April. And we had a mask mandate, and we're like, we'll take it.
Yeah.
We'll take it.
Yeah. I was there with the mask and it didn't bother me.
No, we even had our little women's fair masks,
So,
but and we had so many exhibitors. I'll just jump on this too. We had so many, I call them exhibitors, vendors, that were so grateful that we had a show, because again, a lot of this is their business. They travel around doing this. I'm kind of, the I organize, I plan. We traveled around to other shows asking what they did. And we found a consistent theme that shows were down about 30%. So what we did is we went in our whole budget and we reduced it by 30%. So it would kind of match what was going on. So we spent that whole year just researching and how we can make this happen. And attendees were excited. They said, thanks for not canceling. We look forward to this every year. It was still, the spirit of the show was still there, even with the masks on.
The spirit of the show. That's nice.
It is. Right? It is.
Yeah. The takeout's going to be the show must go on.
It is. And it did. That is how we operate, for sure.
That's great. Well, thank you for that. How many people attend?
Oh gosh, in 2020, that was one of the best years that the show had in several years, and we were close to 15. 2021, it dropped back down to 8, close to 9,000, and we are growing back up to we're bumping up against 11, 12,000.
Wonderful.
Now, so
congratulations.
Yes.
Very exciting. So I know that you have this business, plus you also have another business, which I'd like for you to tell the listeners about. And then in this question, what's been the biggest learning curve since you started in this industry, in the women's, in the expo industry? Because I think were you in that event industry before too?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So like I said, Sari and I have been working this show for 20 plus years on the back end.
Okay.
So yes, when you step in as a business owner, obviously, yes, learning curves. A lot of things made sense to us. Probably one of the biggest things is just keeping up. We didn't understand the changing dynamics of marketing and advertising. So have we met the end of that learning curve? I don't know. It seems like the goalpost keeps moving. Our audience for attendees is, from 25 and up. So we have to know about the latest in technology over here, and how do we reach these people, and that a lot of that's changed from regular TV to streaming, channels and things. Right. Do we do reels? Do we do TikTok? Do we do this? We still have this older, audience that still, reads the paper in their small town. So it's just constantly, changing and evolving on that, the technology with that. So that's probably, been the biggest, hearing and learning about geofencing. Wait, what's that? It's, oh wait, now we're not using geofencing, but last year, okay. It just every year it's, but it keeps us on our toes with it.
Yeah.
And that's how we thrive. We love working like that. So
I think that's another common characteristic of a successful entrepreneur is you're adaptable.
Yeah.
Adaptable from the bad to the good and the good to the bad, all the way around. You're adaptable.
All the way around.
Yeah.
Being flexible with it. Yes.
Of course, now we have the new challenge, those two words, two letters, AI, and who knows how that's going to impact this industry and others. I heard someone say yesterday, the latest innovation in AI is today. Tomorrow, it's going to be new. That's pretty amazing, isn't it?
Right, right.
You know? And we don't know at the moment exactly everything that it could impact and what wave we need to ride and what wave not, maybe.
And that is such a good term, because that's how we feel a lot with this. I mean, that's again, the whole advertising, marketing, and how do we reach these people? It is like a wave, you know, and next year it's another wave that you're riding and just trying to come in on and understand it. So
yeah. So the industry as a whole of event planning, and specifically the show kind of thing that you do, what do people misunderstand about that industry?
you know, we often get asked, how do you own a trade show?
Oh,
I mean, I guess people, and we're so surprised by that question that people don't see it as a business. I think I probably need to, just come out and ask, why do you ask, or what is your image of this? Because I do wonder, do they think it's the venue, or is it like Century 2's show? Do they, I don't think people really understand that, there's an event production company, and, trade shows can be owned by, people. It's a business. Yeah, that's probably our main question we get, is how do you own a trade show? The other thing is that I think people, because they show up and it's all put together, it's there, it's 3 days, they don't understand that it takes months to make this happen just for 3 days.
Right. How hard could it be to set up my booth?
Oh my goodness, I didn't want to say it, but that's what the question we get. We get asked about, well, how hard is it to have a trade show? And you just smile and
yeah.
it'll work.
And then you have to set the bar. I mean, the bar, I remember going to the women's show years ago, and it's changed and grown a lot. So what kind of things have you had to do? What things have you done in the last couple of years to raise the bar? That's not on the questions that I gave you in advance, but I think I know you know the answer to that because of who you are. But what kind of things do you think you've done to raise the bar this year from last year or the year before?
I mean, it is tough because there is this fine line. People don't like that much change.
True, that's true. We say we do, but we don't.
It is true. I mean, you get a vendor that comes in and their booth isn't where it was last year. There's a chance they're not very happy about it because their traffic was good in their spot last year.
Okay.
So, we do little tweaks, but we try not to change a floor plan too much because yes, when exhibitors, if they like their spot, if they like their traffic, they want the same thing on it. But like you say, how do we, tweak it? And some of the best things are, Sari and I travel to other shows and we're looking for new ideas and we're looking for new vendors, something that's not around here. So while we have our regulars that come back, our staple vendors that come back, they're like family to us. One of the ways that we, raise the bar is just by, like last year, we had an exhibitor that wasn't going to use this large space. And it was, I don't know, 8 weeks before the show. And the show must go on. How are we going to fill this space?
Yeah.
We contacted Riverwind, the RV place, and they came in and brought in a vintage camper. It was so cute. Branding wise, it was even women's fair teal colors.
Yes.
But visually you walk around this corner and you see this, vintage looking RV. So when people come through, it is about when they go down these aisles through each one, they don't want to miss an aisle because what if they miss
That one
something in
thing,
that,
right.
yes, in
Mhm.
that aisle. So that's one of the things that we do is just constantly, how do we bring in something new that our attendees hasn't seen
Okay.
before?
You also have two customers, right? Or is the exhibitor your customer? But they're both. The attendee is
Yes,
also a customer.
I was just about to go down that path. We do have two customers. Our exhibitors, our vendors are our, our customers.
Mhm.
Um, Without quality exhibitors, our attendees aren't excited about our show.
Yeah.
Without quality attendees, our exhibitors aren't excited about our show.
Mhm. Yeah.
So we start off our planning targeting our vendors. And then, we talked a little bit earlier, before we got started here, roughly about 3 months before the show, we try to make sure our floor plan is secure. We have all our exhibitors in place, and we shift into an attendee mindset.
Yeah.
And we start reaching them to create the excitement, about the show coming up.
Yeah.
So yes, we do have two customers that, and that gets kind of, it's a balancing
It
act.
is. Yeah.
Between the
Yeah.
two.
I've been on the receiving end of your of your people advertising and promotion, and I've always enjoyed it. I see you guys everywhere. I think you could do a nice job of promoting it in a lot of unexpected places. So hats off to you.
Well, thank you. And I have to give hats off to my business partner
Yes.
on that because, I'm sitting there doing my, administrative organizational thing, and I get a random phone call about, hey, we're going to be in the St. Patty's Day parade. And I'm like, okay, okay.
Yeah, there's always her and you in a business. And I
Yes,
just love that.
yes.
I love that. So what do you feel like is the hardest part about being an entrepreneur? You're an owner of two businesses. So what's the hardest part about being an entrepreneur?
The balance, the juggling,
Mm-hmm.
probably with it. Um, in both, and in speaking, on Women's Fair, it is a double-edged sword because the weight of everything is on you.
Mm-hmm.
We have our exhibitors looking at us. We have our attendees looking at us, the community looking at us. Um, and at the end of the day, it's our job. We build up for this success because, it is our job. It's what we do for a living. So the weight of all of that,
Mm-hmm.
is keeping, you know, basically thousands of people happy to the best of your ability.
Yeah. And I
You
like
know?
the third thing you said in that. You said the weight of the exhibitors and the attendees and the community. But
Mhm.
you're such a part of this community that if it didn't exist for some reason, we would all we would have to rebound from it. Really, it brings a lot of people to the city, gets a lot of activity, a lot of whatever mojo around.
Excitement.
Excitement. Yes.
We have groups of women that literally have t-shirts made prior to the show. So they show up with their own Women's Fair, branding, first year attendee, 15th year attendee, and we love taking those pictures. And, the comments that we get on our social media is, when they say, we can't wait, we're looking for it, we already bought our tickets, it's in a community event, so
Yeah.
we do love that it's something that it's Women's Fair time.
Mm-hmm.
Again, people
Yeah,
look forward to it.
it is. So, what's your favorite part of being an entrepreneur?
You know, and I don't want to use the word control, being in control of everything, but just having the freedom to know that, you know, you are in control of your destiny doing this.
Mm-hmm.
You only limit yourself. There's the ability to be creative. I'm so lucky that I get to work with a business partner that we get to have these sessions where we bounce ideas off each other. And the freedom to do that, and our success is really on us. And, we try something new, it works great. It doesn't work, we tried it.
Yeah, you
And,
tested it.
it's just up to, me and Sari on that. So there's just such an empowerment, such a confidence, when you look at that show and it's done and over. One of the biggest things is that when that show empties out on Sunday night, all the attendees that came through the door, all the exhibitors that came through, and you're like, we did it. We did it.
And then what do you do? Go hibernate for a week?
Oh yeah. Yep.
I bet you do. I can only imagine. Ooh.
No, it's exhausting, but it's a good exhausting. It's a fulfilling, just it's prideful to know that you created something,
Sure. I hear from entrepreneurs a lot that it's the freedom that drives them, but I know they work harder in some ways because it's their passion, but that's okay.
That's one of I will say probably one of the balancing things. And, again, Sari and I have talked about this. She is very, very ingrained in this. And sometimes she has to recognize that, no, maybe she doesn't need to return this email at 9 o'clock at night. Just, being mindful of your personal life and work life. And when you're an entrepreneur, you may think, oh, I just need to, answer that email real quick. It's 15 minutes. But once you go to your email, there's 5 other ones. And the next thing you're sitting there for 2 hours and you didn't even realize it.
And you love it. So it's kind of hard to say, well, why should I stop something I love?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
So interesting. How do you start your day? Do you have any routines that you do?
Yes, I do. I do. I mean, I'm going to say, are they real structured? No, it's just kind of general. I will say, I am a coffee drinker. So I make my way to the kitchen, start that coffee first and foremost. But for me, again, just kind of balancing that work life, I may start, some household chores, with that in that time, touching up the kitchen, starting a load of laundry. While I am having my coffee, one of the things that is very important to me is, my quiet time. I do sit and, whether you call it meditate or just, it's just kind of me and my space for, 15 or 20 minutes. Just reflection, intention, whatever with that. I might try to do a little bit of stretching or yoga, but one of the things I do is I still get ready for work. Although my office is here in my home, I still get dressed. I still put on makeup. I still fix my hair. I don't know who for what, but, it just makes me feel a little put together. And, I come into my office, check my planner, check my emails, check the messages, and get started.
I think that's a great strategy. I've had some clients that I've coached to do that because, what you wear has a lot to do with the kind of output you produce. So if you want to have executive type output, you've got to be an executive, right? And that's what you're doing.
I mean, even if it's the jacket and maybe, some yoga pants, but it's still.
Right. Yeah. Totally. Yeah. I agree. The makeup and everything though, and the hair is a good idea, so wouldn't it be awful if somebody wanted to have a Zoom and you couldn't, or you wouldn't?
And, kind of bleeding into that, with, my virtual, as you mentioned earlier, I mean, sometimes I never know when I'm going to get, a meeting request on Teams or Zoom or something. So that's probably where that habit really has developed, for me.
Good habit. Good habit. So what inspires you or what makes you feel inspired?
People, I mean, positive, thought-provoking, open-minded people inspire me. Even speaking with you earlier, like I mentioned, before we got started on this, just I love taking bits. I'm a perpetual learner. I can't stop learning. And I love learning from people. I love open-minded people. I feel like I'm constantly working on trying to improve
Mm-hmm.
myself.
Yeah.
And with that, I hope that I'm able to give that back, to others and help inspire them. But, that's probably, and being able to be creative. I mean, with this job for both Sari and I, the freedom to be creative in our work is so inspiring to create this experience with this show.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's inspiring. Our work is inspiring to
That's
us.
great. That's awesome. Do you have a favorite business book that you like or that you could recommend? And if so, why?
You know, like I mentioned, Sari and I, we talked about, these things together. We kind of go back to, we've been doing this a long time, and we kind of go back to some of the old basics that really has stuck into our mind. There's like, for me, the 1 Minute Manager, for her, I think it was Monday Morning Leadership. Both of those books were basically about, how are you managing? How are you leading?
Mm-hmm. Right.
And so another one for me is Getting Past No, negotiating.
Mm-hmm.
Whether, those books that I mentioned, those are all about relationships. How do you, when we used that word earlier, how do you inspire the people that work with you to
Mm-hmm.
do their best, to encourage them, finding out their wants and their needs, because when they're successful, you're successful. And even with negotiating, I mean, it's not necessarily, all about getting exactly what you want, but how do you create that relationship to make sure the other party is getting, something that they want as well. So, that one was called, I think I mentioned Getting Past No.
Mm-hmm. I like
I
that.
do have one more that Sari mentioned, and I am very intrigued about, but the title alone is going to reflect on her personality, and it was called Shameless Marketing by Brazen Hussies.
Okay.
That's all I need to say about her personality
Right.
there. So
Okay.
that's something
I've never heard of that.
I hadn't either, but that's probably something that
That's
I need to check out.
That's funny. Yeah, yeah. That's probably good. I appreciate that. Well, what do you for you and Sari together and the Women's Fair, how do you want to be? I know I hate to ask such a young person, how do you want to be remembered? But when people think of the Women's Fair, how do you want to be thought of?
The first, you know what? The first thought that came to my mind is fun. And
Okay.
and you can see in the background, that's part of
That
our
is.
branding, our
Yeah.
logo is
Mm-hmm.
fun. Not only is the event fun, but Sari and Kathleen, they're fun. The sense of humor, the enjoyment that comes with it. Because fun is memorable. You
It
enjoy your
is.
time. It is. It
Yeah.
is. The other thing is that just how genuinely we care.
Mm-hmm.
We care about the success of our exhibitors. We care about the attendees coming through the door. The reason why we stepped into the roles that we're in right now is because we cared about the legacy of the show. It was just too good for it to go away, and we cared too much about it for it to go to somebody else.
Yeah,
So,
right.
but
Mm-hmm.
we just work on being genuine, being authentic. Um, that's really important to us. Our integrity, just naming some of those things of probably how we would like to be remembered.
Nice, nice. Good. Well, this has been fun. I was going to say earlier, you had said that you're a learner. That's another common denominator of entrepreneurs, hands down. And they may not all learn the same. Not everybody does books, but or audibles or whatever, but like listens to people or does podcasts or just has mastermind meetings with people to gain knowledge. And it's very common.
The information is out there. I mean,
Yes.
there's something I tell my kids. I'm like, why wonder? Go find
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Go find it. It's out there.
Learn it and
Yes.
apply it. Learn it and apply it, or learn it and let it go if you don't
Mhm.
need it. So that's beautiful. Well, so the Women's Fair is owned by you and Sari and Sari Schrepfermanm, right? And how can people find you if they want to know information about the show or they want to learn about you guys? What's the best way for people to reach you, connect with you?
The best way is simply going to our website, womensfair.com.
Okay.
There you will find information about the show. We have lots of photos that kind of give the idea and the excitement of the show there. For exhibitors, we have exhibitors information page. You can request space. Email comes directly to us. And, there's a little bit about us too, Sarah and I on there.
Good.
So that's the best way to reach us.
Okay. Are there any, what day, do you have certain days of a month that you have the show that could be evergreen in this video, or is it a different date every year?
Well, it's always in April, if that's what you mean. On that, and we typically try to go for about that 3rd or 4th week of April. We have to play a little bit with the Easter holiday.
Right. Okay.
So we are planning our dates years in advance around that.
So
but it's typically
the 3rd or 4th week in April. Okay, good. That's a good evergreen thing for someone to know if they need to find out about the show.
Do have to mention we are going to incorporate another show this year.
Oh, really?
I don't know.
Yeah, let's say it. So I get
we are going
news.
We are adding the Wichita Holiday Fair. It will be the first weekend of December 6th and 7th in Exhibition Hall at Century 2. Okay. So we are very excited about that. It's a different event than Women's Fair. It's going to be a smaller, venue. You can't recreate the Women's Fair.
No,
you just can't redo that. So we're going to kick that off this year. We're real excited to be working with Century 2 on that. So we'll have some fun holiday things.
Beautiful.
There.
How many exhibitors for that are you hoping?
It's probably going to be about half the size
of
Women's Fair. So 150-ish, around there.
That's good. Do some Christmas.
And geared towards, women, men, do your holiday shopping, after that Thanksgiving, and people are out and about looking, and we'll try to have something for everyone.
Perfect.
There.
That's great. I love it. Well, congratulations on show 2 for you guys. I think that's awesome.
We're excited.
Well, Kathleen, it's really been an honor to interview you, and I appreciate you taking time from your entrepreneurial life to do this and helping other people learn about what it's like to be an entrepreneur and telling your story and sharing your story. I appreciate it.
Oh, thanks so much for having me. It was a pleasure meeting with you and going over everything. So thanks again.
You bet. I'm Coach Lee with Action Coach Business Coaching, and this has been the Business Spotlight.